Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, November 8th, and this is a meeting of the Personnel Subcommittee Group for the negotiations of the Gloucester Teachers Association. We will be going into executive session for the first half an hour, and then coming out about 5 for open session. The school committee personnel subcommittee, Gloucester Teachers Association team will convene an executive session pursuant to executive session purpose 3 of MPL 39, section 23B, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with Gloucester Teachers Association. As an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the Gloucester School Committee's bargaining position. So we have a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Okay. Right.
Jonathan,
Yes.
Samantha,
Yes.
and Kathy.
Yes. So to repeat, we will come back into open session when we meet with the Teachers Association.
Just making sure you can hear me. Thank you. I'll mute.
Hi, Jonathan.
Hold on, let me log in.
Okay, we're live.
Everybody's doing it.
Everyone.
Yes.
All right, well, we're ready. Are you ready to go?
We would again request that you consider meeting in person. We think it's much more conducive to negotiations. We want to sit across from you and smile, even though you can't see our smiles. And we just think that it's a much more effective mode of negotiations. We don't have to decide that now, but we'd like to raise this with you. And some of my districts are going back to the table.
Thank you. That's good to hear. We will consider the offer and we appreciate you extending it.
And I just wanted to say good evening. How's everybody? And I wanted to introduce, we've got a little change in the negotiating team, and we have Sam Watson now as a member of the negotiating team on our side. For those of you who have not met her in person or anywhere. Hello. She is behind the mask.
Hi, Sam. Welcome to the team. It's nice to be working with you in this capacity.
Thanks, you too.
So we'd like to start with some counter proposals, if that's okay with you.
Could I take a moment to interrupt before we begin with the counter proposals? I just, in light of what occurred in the last time that we met, October 18th, I'd like just to remind our teams and everybody to mind our tone and tenor. And I certainly hope that we teachers will not be spoken to in the manner that we were spoken to in the last meeting. And finally, in the last meeting, a school committee member had made some accusations that were actually false. And we were hopeful to correct those false accusations. And we were not given that opportunity. The meeting was ended before we were able to rebut that information. So I am hopeful that as we move forward, we will be given the opportunity to rebut information, especially if we find that it is false, as it was in the last meeting. The meeting left a pretty lousy taste in my mouth. And I just want to make sure that we are in a position to move forward in a very professional and in a very positive manner.
And I guess that what we would say is we were also concerned with some of the statements that the association made. It wasn't a good meeting. We acknowledge that. And we would like to move forward without casting aspersions in either party. And we would like to go forward saying we want to be tough on the issues and soft on the people.
And so Jonathan, your counters.
Yeah, I'm gonna start with the monetary counter proposals, and then we'll move on to some of the other things after that. But we have been looking at the structure of your proposal, and as I've stated before, the structure of our original proposal was similar in that it added a percentage to the step and tracks and then it added an additional percentage to the top step, which is essentially what you did. The numbers are different, we know that, but the structure is the same. But we kept hearing that you were taken aback by the way our offer. So we're going to present two different financial proposals, not that they're, and they are mutually exclusive. So it's one or the other, obviously. And the first one is,
Should we share this with?
What?
Why don't I send
oh,
this to Anthony
we're
right now?
gonna, if you give us a minute, we'll send it to you. So
I'll
you
send
have
it
it
right
in
now.
front of you.
It was just sent.
And should we present it?
Or on the board.
Who's gonna present?
Um,
Uh,
I'm gonna talk about it.
Hold on a second.
Put it up.
Can Greg?
Yeah, let me just see if I can.
Okay, we're gonna try putting it on the screen.
Great. As you folks are working out those IT issues, could we do a quick verbal roll call? And we will send you our attendance sheet that Naomi had sent to us. But some of our members here on the GTA side would like if we could do a verbal one.
Fine.
Appreciate it.
Start Tony.
Sure. Talina Immel, Principal, West Parish.
Samantha Watson, School Committee.
Kathy Clancy, School Committee.
Jonathan Pope, School Committee.
Naomi Stoneberg, Labor Council.
Gary Frisch, CFO.
Greg Pagini, Council.
The next.
Ben Lummis, Superintendent?
Roberta Easton, Director of Human Resources.
And we have Maria, our recording secretary.
And you guys?
Rachel Rex, GTA Vice President.
Cynthia
Carrie
Carney,
Donahue, oh, sorry.
sorry, Cynthia Carney, GTA President.
Carrie Donahue, Plum Cove teacher.
Ruth Flaherty, East Gloucester teacher.
Rich Francis, Gloucester High teacher.
Matthew Lewis O'Malley, teacher.
One more time, Teresa Danaher.
And
And Anthony Paralisi,
We know who you are, Teresa.
Anthony Paralisi, MTA Field Rep.
Thank you. So are we're
Yeah,
gonna
let
put
me-
it up on the screen?
Let me bring it up.
Okay.
There we are.
So this is our proposal number one. And proposal number one is a uniform percentage increase across the board to all steps and tracks, including top step. And the annual salary range from 6 to 9% for all educators not on the top step. All the people on the top step would get the COLA of 2% added to that top step. And just to point out that we had already negotiated a $450 and a $550 increase, so that percentage would be added to that. The starting salary for teachers with a master's degree would go from $51,065 to $54,190. And the master's plus 60 increase would go from $90,700 to $96,830 over the 3 years of the contract. And the top salary for masters increased from the straight masters would be $80,930, would go to $85,844 over the 3 years. As far as the longevity, we would prefer to keep it the same. The hourly increase would go from $30 to $35 per hour. The extracurricular stipends would stay the same. The athletic stipends, we understand this concern here, and we want to research it more before we come back with a counter. And we also would like to add $25,000 to be available for reimbursement for professional staff who take approved special education or English language learner education courses. So that is the crux of our counter proposal number one.
So may I just interrupt for a second because I with a question, or should I wait till the end?
Wait to the end might be better.
Okay,
I want to add also that it also includes the retired teachers who substitute going from 125 to 150.
Yeah.
Right? So that's not on the list, but we talked about that already.
Our proposal number two, and as I said earlier, this follows the same structure as your proposal. It adds a COLA to all of the steps and tracks across the board, and then it adds an additional percentage to the top steps and eliminates the bottom. The difference here is we eliminate bottom steps, and actually, rather than just increasing the top step, we create a new top step. So the annual increase range from 5.5% to 8.5% for all educators not on the top step. Top step annual salary increase would go to 2.25%. Plus, once again, as I said, the 450 and the 550, that's already been negotiated. So the COLA increase would be 1.5% across all lanes and current steps. And then we would add a step 13 on the bachelor's, step 14 on the master's, master's plus 30 and master's plus 60 with an additional 0.75 increase. So that's how we get to the 2.25 increase for those top steps. So the annual increase ranges, I already said that. In year two would be the same, of 5.5 to 8.5. We've attached schedules so you can look up the actual numbers in this attachment, but I'm not going to go through those. So the top step annual increase would be 2%, and the COLA increase would be 1.5 across all lanes and current steps. We would, on the second year, we would delete step 4 in the bachelor's, step 3 in the master's, master's 30 and master's 60. We would add a step 14 and a step 15 to the step 14 to the bachelor's and step 15 to the master's, master's 30, master's 60 at a 0.5% increase. And year 3 is similar, and because that's me, right? Damn mercy. So the year 3, once again, we would add the top step would increase 2%, and the lower steps, the steps, original lower steps would be up 1.5% in all lanes and current steps. And once again, we would delete the bottom steps, and we would add a top step. And that top step would get the additional 0.5%. So with this proposal number 2, the starting salary for educators with a master's degree would increase from $51,065 to $58,420. Top salary for master's plus 60 would increase from $90,700 to $97,095 over the 3-year contract. And the top salary for masters increases from $80,930 to $86,120 during the contract. And once again, the other compensation items were the same as in our first proposal. Longevity stayed the same. The hourly rate goes from 30 to 35, extracurricular stipends stay the same. The athletic stipends, we want to do further research, as well as we'll increase the veteran teachers substitute pay from 125 to 150. And that's the proposal.
Greg gets to scroll through to show
Yeah.
people what I
Yeah,
said.
we can just scroll through these charts that are attached.
They have this.
And they show in our different proposals, the percentage increases, as well as the actual salary increases and the actual salary. So it's all there. You can look at everything.
And we have a limited amount of funds available, what we can get from the city and what's budgeted. And so the option one was the traditional approach, which we believe you said you wanted in terms of an across-the-board increase. And option two enables us to do an across-the-board increase, but also do some restructuring to the salary scale. Give people at max a little bit more, and to increase the starting salaries to enable us to help them recruit and retrain staff. So we listened to you.
So we want to do the
Take
count.
questions now?
One of the counters.
Now, why don't we see if they have some questions?
Rachel, you have questions?
That's what we could.
I'm gonna hold my questions until after we caucus. Do you have other counters for us?
Yes.
I'm sorry, did anybody else on my team need to ask a clarifying question before we move on? I apologize. All right, go ahead.
Okay, we're gonna start with our counter to your labor management committee, and Dan is going to present.
Were these also forwarded to us in writing, or was it just the financial counter that was forwarded in writing?
No, this is all forwarded. This is all forwarded to you.
Great, thanks so much.
Great, so folks, I appreciate your desire to meet and work collaboratively on important issues that not only Gloucester, but most, if not many, if not most school districts really struggle with. Really appreciate it. We think that you, and I guess also our team, has brought up some significant challenges that would be best to work together on. So what we're countering with is an approach that we believe would have more educators and staff engaged in solving challenges that exist across the schools. It would allow the staff with the most experience with an issue, and the ones who are most affected by it be the ones who are working to solve the issue with the administration. And it would add some urgency to getting the challenge addressed, resolved, and remedied. A pretty significant level of urgency to that. We're calling these problem-solving teams as opposed to a committee. We believe that teams have a little more urgency than committees. And that what we would propose here, and it's all written down, as you can see there, is that each problem-solving team would exist to do the following and clearly identify the issue of concern. So if the GTA or whoever's involved in this team approach, and we would recommend that's beyond the GTA, because certainly issues affect folks regardless of their role or what labor union they're in. But then once we agree to work on a specific issue, and we give some examples there later down, that the team, whoever was named to the team, would identify the issues related to that concern. They gather data related to the issue to better understand it and how it impacts student learning, engagement, and connection to school. That team would develop possible solutions and vet these solutions with staff, leadership, and others who are impacted. They select the solutions to pursue, and then identify timeline, benchmarks, and action steps that are to be taken by educators, staff, school leaders, and administrators to implement the solution. And then they disband after that was done. except to come back together to review annual progress. So the team is still sort of shepherding and not overseeing, but sort of monitoring, thank you, the progress on that challenge. We're proposing that to ensure sufficient focus on any specific challenge, that no more than one problem-solving team would be in place at a time. And then also, it's really valuable to us in terms of how we collaborate and manage and lead the district, that we want broad representation engagement from staff. So we're proposing that no school-based employee would participate in more than one team during the school year. So those are the basics of it. A little bit different structure. Instead of a standing committee that meets monthly with a very, very broad purview or sort of scope, we're trying to focus it on one issue at a time, on a team that will exist and be formed to solve that challenge. And then, if necessary, would refer to the school committee if there were issues that, and any labor unions, if there were issues that had to be impact bargain. So we also put there just some examples that have come up in terms of through our negotiations, substitute teachers, so recruitment, hiring, training, and retention. The graduate level courses qualifying for track increases. We've tried to work on that in the past, I understand. Meeting time and maximizing in-class instructional time, certainly, and special scheduling and student load. Those are all challenging issues that schools and districts all typically really are challenged by. The last two, meeting time and maximizing in-class instructional time, and the special scheduling and student load, are two particularly difficult ones that we really understand and appreciate the challenge there. So seeing those as two important ones. So it's trying to be a little more focused and also make sure that instead of a committee that's made up of standing members who would deal with every issue regardless of whether they're immediately impacted, that we'd have broader representation, more staff involved in finding solutions for the challenges we face, and also more urgency in resolving things rather than just meeting. So happy to answer questions or clarify things either now or later on that.
And we have counter proposals.
I have a question, Ben. If I could, who would be appointing the members of the committees?
I think we probably have to figure it out, but
We'd like your input on that, okay, Cynthia?
yeah.
I'm sorry, Naomi?
We'd like your input on that. We're flexible.
So I'm confused. Is your answer that the appointment of the members of the committees would be with the input of the union, with administration?
We're open for discussion.
Yeah, we don't have that clearly laid out yet, but that's something we obviously have to figure out.
Thank you.
Yep.
And we have counters to a number of others.
We're going to look at, and thank you for giving us responses to our proposals. We're going to look at those and give you some feedback on that. Number 4, we still would like to discuss this issue of meetings further. We want to clarify, we're not asking for any total additional time. We just want the ability to have varying length of meetings based upon what needs to be done during the meeting. We'd like to discuss that with you further. Ben, can you, or Greg, can you share the list of?
I can't do it right now, but I can do it afterwards.
We have a list of positions that would require the safety care training, and we will share that with you.
Yeah.
Number 6, we feel we really need additional time for professional development. This is one way to accommodate that need, and we're open to discussion about how we can increase the professional development in the district. We're maintaining that proposal, but we want to get some feedback from you and see if you have any creative solutions to deal with that issue. On the program leaders, Rich, I think you were involved in this discussion, but you were going to get back to us on how the program leaders currently assist staff in their teaching responsibilities. And we wanted to have a discussion of that because you distinguish between evaluative and coaching and assistance, and we just need to have some further discussion on that issue.
Well, you know, after our meeting, the last time I spoke with James about that, and how he envisioned, you know, the observation idea. And it's not really, it doesn't really jibe with your proposal for evaluations. James kind of sees it as we had said, you know, the program leaders as more mentors with the other teachers. And, you know, one of the things that I think he kind of agreed with us on, and you're free to talk with James about that and get some clarification too. One of the things that he understands, any feedback that happens between a program leader and a member of their department is between them as a way to help people, as opposed to being part of an evaluation process because of the honesty and the relationships that are built that way. And I also spoke with the program leaders, and they have some ideas on how this needs to work as well. So
We'd love to hear those ideas, and thank you for following up on that, Rich.
sure. You know, I can put something together in writing that might make it a little easier for you to understand, if that would be helpful.
Thank you.
That would be very helpful.
So if a program leader believes that there's a concern that the program leader is not able to address, then that would, the responsibility would shift to the administration to observe the teacher. Correct? That's the way it would work.
I'm sorry, could you ask that question again?
Okay. If a program leader had a concern about a staff member, if they were trying to mentor the staff member and were not successful, or if they had a lot of parental complaints, then the program leader would refer that to the principal or the administration and ask the administration to become involved in the observation.
Well, in terms of an administrator being involved in observation, that's pretty much on them to decide whether how much they need to do so. And when parents have issues, you know, there's a chain of command. You know, they communicate with the parents first. If they don't feel happy with that, they can communicate with the program leader, who then, you know, if the program leader can't help, would pass it on to the administration.
Okay, thank
As
you.
well.
All right, we have a counter to the communication with parents.
Wait, I think, yeah, there's number eight. I think we skipped over 8.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, in terms of the duties that we've proposed, we're not, perhaps we weren't clear, we're not proposing that high school teachers perform duties, more duties during the cycle period. In other words, the number of duties that would be assigned would remain the same, but they would also encompass possibly library or bridge coverage. I don't know if we made that clear.
We understood what you were asking for, and we still stick with our rejection. There is a GAPE, there's a GAPE position that addresses this very coverage right here that you're speaking of.
Okay. And our position is that we might need professional teaching staff members to step in as part of the duty, but we understand your position. Okay, now on 9, in terms of the response to parents, we have a counter proposal. And what we're proposing is that absent, we're accepting your 2 school days. And what we're proposing is absent extenuating circumstances, they'll respond within 2 days. So the issue that you described where someone was sick and wasn't able to be at school, that would be an extenuating circumstance. A teacher at the high school who had 100 students and has 50 emails from parents, hope that doesn't happen, Rachel. That would be an extenuating circumstance. So the expectation is within 2 school days, unless there's some situation that would prevent that. So we'd like you to consider that. Sick leave, we are proposing to delete the last sentence. We heard you on that. We're still saying that if someone knows about a doctor's appointment, that they should notify us ahead of time so that we can make appropriate arrangements. And in no way are we saying that we don't want people going to doctor's appointments. We do. And we're also not saying that we're not going to grant it if someone doesn't give us notice, because we know what happens. Doctors can see you at the last minute, or you might have an issue that needs to be addressed by a doctor quickly. And hopefully you can get in to see that doctor. Okay, on personal leave. We are very concerned about May and June. And this language in terms of notice came from another contract. And what it provides for that if someone wants to take days in May, they let us know by April 15th. And in June, they let us know by May 15th. And then they can, if they haven't submitted that request, they can submit it in writing to be approved by the superintendent. So if something comes up, a wedding that you didn't know about, or a legal matter, a house closing, then the individual can submit the request in writing to take the day in May or June. We're also proposing that there be a percentage cap in the number of faculty that can take the days in May and June. And here, we're not trying to be punitive. I know it's been characterized that way. We're just trying to make sure that we have proper coverage for the students. That's our goal here. That's our interest. We're not trying to deprive people of personal days. Evaluation, I think we might not have made ourselves clear on the self-directed growth plan. We just want to clarify what the regulations say, that the person is progressing as expected. That's all we're trying to do here. Very simply. We're just trying to clarify that it's not a substantive change.
Yeah, I don't think that's really an issue. It's just the question is, where would we put it into the instrument was really all we kind of wanted to know what you were thinking.
All right. Maybe in the definitions possibly, but we'll get back to you on that. Okay, in terms of number 17, we think that this proposal really would assist the high school students. And that's the reason for the proposal. And we'd like to have some more discussions about that. In terms of the O'Malley innovation, the middle school, the ability to have an average of a certain number of minutes based upon the needs of the students and the program. We know that Lynn has had some discussions with some staff members, and we might actually consider we tell you in advance, bringing the principal to the table to discuss this some more, to flesh it out. And the graduate course credits and the online discussion, we just need to have a discussion of this, probably put it in a committee. We thought it would fit really well into that problem-solving structure, but this is something which would be in both of our interests to resolve. People want consistency, they want to know what's going to be accepted, they want a streamlined process for course approvals. And I know that you've had some discussions already with Greg Bach about this, but we would like to figure this out with you. And Greg, can you give them the list of the safety care
I
positions?
did, I had already
Okay,
sent
good.
it. Anthony, you should have it.
Any questions? You want to take a caucus?
Anybody on my team have any clarifying questions? Would you think a 15 to 20-minute caucus would suffice?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I
Yep,
can
why don't we shoot for that?
text Ms. Clancy.
Okay. Do you have her number, Rachel?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Okay, good.
Thank you. And I'd just like to wish the 104 participants that have been joining us tonight a great evening, and thank you so much for our support. We hope to be back in 20 minutes.
there's just one.
I think we're just waiting.
What's in your background? It's very interesting.
Let's see, Waldorf Astoria.
You talking to me, Naomi? I'm sorry.
Yes.
That's the Hall of Mirrors at Palace of Versailles.
Very nice.
My wife and I visited there several years ago. And I was able to get a picture of it.
Nice.
All right. Are we all back now, Rachel?
I think so. Is Ruth, yeah?
Okay. So we are going to start with the responding to some of your counters. So since you started with the joint labor management, or as you called it, a problem-solving team, we're going to take a deeper look at the language that you proposed and see if we can't find a way to bridge the gap between our vision and yours. The team did want to point out that we don't agree with the school committee's position that a joint labor management would restrict educator involvement, or as is written in the document, consolidate influence or power. We're a democratically run organization. As we determine what this team or committee might look like, the representatives from the association would be appointed by the members' elected representatives, and members would have input on the agenda and the solutions through those democratic processes. But we want to work with you to come up with something that works for both parties and meets our needs. We will take a deeper look at that and see if we can't come up with a detailed counter for our next session. Going on to your other counters. Starting with school committee number 4, the high school and middle school meeting time. We are open to agreeing to the 30 and 90-minute flexibility. What we would ask, though, is that the schedule for the entire year be made available by August 20th. Rather than doing it in 2 halves. Our members, do plan out their children's appointments, in the summer or early fall, right when they get those calendars. And if they could have the whole year's schedule, we would be willing to agree to the change that you proposed. If we had the
By
whole,
August 20th, are you saying?
yeah. So if the entire year was scheduled by August 20th, then we would be okay to agree to the rest. With number 5 and the safety care, we want to just hold on that to be able to talk to our members who are in the positions that you listed and see if there are any issues that they raise to us. So we will respond to that next time. With SC number 6, Carrie, did you want to speak to this? This is the 3 additional days.
I think Ruth and Carrie were going to speak to
Ruth and
that. If
Carrie,
I
yep.
may interrupt.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if we need a clarification on that. We're thinking that this is the 6 hours of the teacher discretionary time. Is that correct? For the 183rd day, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
On that, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we just want to point out and just remind the committee that this is important time to the staff. We spend far more than the 6 hours to get ready for our students every year. We prepare the hallways, we prepare our classrooms to really provide a welcoming environment for our students. There's times that we're going through IEPs, the previous data from the year before, to really get to know our students. We're, this year, a lot of cleaning up if you're having your floors redone for the 2nd and 3rd time, but we pride ourselves on creating a welcoming environment. It takes a long time to do those bulletin boards every year to set up folders and student stations. And we really feel it's necessary to get off on the right foot, going in to an organized and put together classroom, to be prepared as we always want to be in our field. Again, we take far more than the 6 hours to do that. And to start off to that organized start. You know, we know that you're looking for an additional PD, but we do want to remind you that the elementary has just in the past couple of years taken on an additional 14 additional PLC times, and we do feel pretty saturated with that. So we are hoping to maintain those 6 hours to get ready for our students, to prepare to get our hallways, classrooms, et cetera, ready. That's all we have on that.
Taking away any teacher prep time is not going to make this a passable situation. I think the elementary would really push back on us if we were to agree to something like that, to take teacher prep time away.
And it's really something that benefits the students. You know, we have, you know, from soup to nuts, we want them to come in. They're going into their last, you know, well, actually all grades do it, but we want them to come in and get off on the right foot and feel happy in the environment that they're starting the year off with.
It does take weeks, especially for those type A's like myself. It can take weeks to get that room ready, and to take that time that's already given to us away. I just don't think it would be a positive thing for us.
We're not saying that teachers don't prepare. We know how teachers prepare for the start of school, and we know how many teachers we see in the school in August getting their classrooms ready. The goal here, our interest was trying to get some more professional development time.
Right, so I guess we were looking to clarify, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
It wasn't in any way to be a reflection that we don't need the time. We understand you need the time.
But I guess our clarification is that what would happen? Would we in fact lose teacher prep time to make a PD day?
Yes.
Okay.
So we hear you.
You know, and like you said, Naomi, we give up a ton of time, and we don't want to ask teachers to continue to give up more time. We don't think it's fair, and we would like to hang on to that that time.
Thank you.
So then next, the program number 7, the program leaders. So Rich, you were going to speak to this again just a little bit. You know, I guess, you know, if we have a joint labor management committee or a problem solving team, this could be something that could be spun out and discussed in that sort of a venue. You know, again, there may be some language we can agree to. We're going to try to dig a little deeper and see how we could do it. We're definitely not in a position to agree to creating a different unit with evaluation, you know, and supervisory responsibilities. But in terms of, you know, discussing the job description of the supervisory program leaders to include a role in the mentorship, you know, something that, you know, we'd be open to. Of course, we also need to discuss, you know, either taking stuff off of their plate or addressing compensation for additional work. If we're going to ask those program leaders to do more than they currently do. But we're good.
Okay.
Richard, do you want to add anything else?
No, I just, you know, again, I think a discussion with the principals to see what their vision is would make this maybe move a little quicker and smoother.
Yeah, Rich, I do want to clarify that James and I came up with this proposal together. So I thank you for talking to him and clarifying, and, you know, things change as we go through negotiations. So, but so anyway, just want to clarify that, and happy that you guys are interested in thinking more about this. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Next, number 8, as we've discussed, we continue to reject this. You know, we hear what you say, that you're not looking to increase the frequency of duties, But especially when it comes to the bridge program, we're not in the interest in having any language in in the teacher unit contract that would affect a different unit's work. So agreeing to the bridge coverage is just not something that we can do. And again, we're not prepared, we're not in a position to ask our members to take on a new possible duty with the library coverage there either. So we're going to continue to reject that. The next is your number 9. We'll accept your counter, and we can call this a TA, the parent communication language, absent extenuating circumstances, emails will be answered within 2 school days. The next 2, number 12, as it applies to sick days for appointments with 10 days notice, and number 14, the restrictions on personal days or the new deadlines for applying for personal days in May and June. The teachers would continue to reject those. Again, to us, we just, we hear that you say it's not meant to be punitive, but when these restrictions do exist or when they're proposed, it does, even if not punitive, it does feel like a lack of trust, a lack of respect for educators as professionals. If there's reason to believe that somebody is, being frivolous or violating the contract in any way, there are avenues for the district to address any problems that may exist, but we don't see that there's a problem here that needs to be solved. We understand there's a substitute crisis that, it's not just here in Cape Ann, but across the state and across the nation. But we're worried that putting this kind of language in to solve what we hope is a temporary problem would cause permanent hardship for our members, even absent, the emergency provisions that you've included. We just don't see the need or have any interest in making these changes at this time. 15, with the evaluation instrument progressing as expected. Again, we're open to it. We just need to know exactly where it goes, and then sure, that should be no problem. 16, we've already TA'd. 17 at the high school. Again, the high school teachers believe the system they have now works and is working well. They're establishing relationships, they're making things available for students, and they have the flexibility to know what students need from day to day rather than prescribed and additional duties to restrict their autonomy during that homeroom time. So we'll continue to reject number 17. 18, again, we continue to reject. We believe it's inequitable. If you have an updated proposal in the future for us to consider, we'll take a look at it for sure. But as it's written now, we still reject it. And then 19 and 20, this may again be something that, we might want to consider putting out to a subcommittee or holding on to for a problem-solving team or joint labor management team. We understand the district's interest. We're interested in sort of exploring solutions. We just don't have, and we'll work on a language counter for next time, but we're already pretty deep into our caucus. So for next time, hopefully we plan on having something a little more substantive to respond to this issue. And I guess finally, that means, we're not prepared to counter your newest salary proposal, though we do thank you for making some movement in our direction. Our concerns still are that the way the school committee presents these financial offers is very misleading and misleading in a number of ways. For starters, there's, to every member on this bargaining team, there's never been a history of including step raises as part of the proposal, right? Certain members know that they may get between 6 and 9 or whatever the percentages you are, but that's that's not what we're bargaining over and shouldn't be used to give a more favorable view of the proposal. So option one is just 222 COLA with $5 more an hour for hourly work. And our proposal on the hourly work is to make all hourly work $45 an hour. So you're at 35 there, which for some work is already the current rate, so not a raise for some people. And we're at 45. Maybe there's some room to meet in the middle sometime in the future if these other numbers can come up. The special education and ELL reimbursement is not compensation. Not every one of our members is going to apply for that. It seems like a fine incentive for the district to provide, but it is so limited. We really shouldn't be having that conversation as part of as a compensation package. It should be part of a proposal to perhaps combine with the tuition reimbursement and the online and the course approval committee issue. Whether option one or two is accepted, and option two, where you propose dropping some steps for some new top steps that total 1.75% over 3 years. Option two is still just 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. So it's a smaller COLA for everybody, not on the top step. Again, including step raises in the presentation misleads the public because that's money the school committee already knew they would have to spend. Those aren't new dollars, they're in the budget. And also in both packages, including the $450 or $550 for masters plus 30 and masters plus 60, putting that in this as a part of your proposal, it's not new money. As you said, it's already agreed to. So we're really concerned that the school committee continues to use these sort of deceptive practices in order to make people believe their offer is a little bit better than it is. So the other thing we want to point out is that in both option one and option two, you mentioned how the starting salaries might change. And on its surface, it seems like in your option two, it's this gigantic raise in the starting salary. But currently there are no members, no teachers in the district on step one or step two. So you could drop those steps. In fact, you basically already have dropped those steps. And there's nothing stopping the district that I'm aware of from hiring every new teacher on the top step on day one. You could raise the starting salary to step 13 tomorrow. You could just offer every new teacher that top step. The steps exist, again, so that the city can delay a professional wage and use a probationary period and then some, in the case of someone who might start on step 3 or step 4, or maybe step 1 back in the past, before they get to that top step. So by saying, oh, it's such a great deal because we're going to drop these bottom steps, again, it's hiding the fact that you're not saving any money, you're not spending any more money by doing that because you already have nobody on those steps. And by the 3rd year of the contract, if we drop the bottom 3 steps, nobody would ever be on those 3 steps. No current member anyway. So we think people should know what the proposals really are. Option 1 is 2, 2, and 2 with $5 more an hour for extra work, which is well below the per diem rate of even the first year teacher on the first step of the scale. And then you're including things we've either already agreed to or really aren't compensation. And you're mentioning that there's no change to longevity. So again, it's not really a counter. It's just like putting it in there as a way of saying, oh, they get this longevity. But again, why are we putting that out there like it's new money? Because that to me is what the public is going to infer from the way this was presented. So I think it's fair to say we're not going to accept the terms as you presented them in either option 1 or option 2, but we will certainly before next time have another counter to share with you, and hopefully start to get even closer together, a place where we feel our members will ratify because they believe they're getting a fair deal.
Caucus?
Yep.
We just set a date.
No, let's caucus.
Okay. Thank you. We're going to caucus and how long?
10 or 15 minutes.
10, 15 minutes, and Kathy will get a hold of Rachel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Are we gonna talk about dates after this in this caucus by any chance? Potential dates for our next meeting?
We do need to talk about.
You know what, why don't we talk about that now? before we caucus? No?
While we're caucusing, we can work on some dates, and can you guys work on some dates too?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thanks, Matt.
Good, thanks.
Thanks.
Okay. Motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
Mute it, please, Maria. Not muted.
Then you vote. Turn it off.
I think we're just waiting for Cynthia, folks. Great, I think we're all back.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for your responses. I just want to repeat what I had said a couple meetings ago, because I know we keep talking about the salary steps and the fact that they're contractually obligated, and we know that. And we do put them in our budget, but I just want to be clear again that they are not funded. So even though we've agreed to them and we know they're there and they're, you know, the way that the contract has been for a long time, we still every year need to go to the city to get things funded. And we have three key drivers. One of them is special education costs, the second is health insurance, and the third clearly is salaries and the salary increases. So we just wanted to make that point again.
And we hear you, you don't like this level of transparency, but we're gonna continue to present salaries in this way as sort of a big picture approach, so that the community does have a better sense of what teacher salaries include.
I mean, I understand when budget time comes and people want to know why the number is what it is. But when we're trying to reach agreement and our members are saying, you know, that 2, 2, and 2 or 1.5, 1.5, 1.5 isn't enough. Pointing out that the school committee or the city hasn't planned ahead to fund the raises they previously agreed to. So therefore we should accept less, but be okay with it. It just doesn't add up, you know, and again, we understand where the bottom line issue is, but asking the teachers to take less because you're actually getting more based on what we already promised you. It's just like trying to have it both ways. So we understand why you're doing it, and we're all for transparency, and we're not denying that people will get their step and track increases. So we're on the same page there. But when you present us a proposal and say, we're offering you 6 to 9%, if you take a 2, 2, 2, you're not offering 6 to 9%. You already agreed to 6 to 9%. And the 2, 2, 2 or the 1.5, 1.5, or the 3, 3, 3 we've got on the table, that's what we're really talking about. And the public deserves to know that that's really what we're negotiating over. We're not negotiating over the steps and lanes of the past. We're negotiating over a cost of living adjustment that is hopefully, and again, our proposal doesn't even go all the way there, but tries to keep pace with with rising costs of inflation and healthcare and all the other expenses that every family has to deal with, and our educators are no different.
And if I may, my hand is raised, and I know that this is the second CBA that I've played a role in negotiating. In the last CBA, when you offered us the 2.25%, those were not tied to step and tracks. And also, I'm receiving texts from people who work for the city who are questioning, what do you mean it's not funded? What do you mean they don't put it in there? So there are those questions that are coming up. Again, it makes sense to me the way that my brain works. When you want to include the increase to the teachers on the highest step, if you want to tie the COLA adjustment to the new 0.75% step 14, that makes sense, right? Because that step doesn't exist. That's an increase that exists. And so again, on my side, and again, this being the second CBI I've negotiated, and I know there are people on this team who have been on this committee for more than 20 years, this has never been done. The step increases in the COLA or the raise that you're offering has never been linked together. So again, based on that history, it appears deceptive. It appears like smoke and mirrors. And for me, it's really difficult for me to understand where we're at, what the raise really looks like when it's confused like that. And that, again, how it works in my brain. If you could just show that you're offering a 222 and you're offering a step at 0.75, that would be great, because you even mentioned before that 46% or 48% of the staff, right, is at that higher pay scale anyway. So I mean, I'm one of the teachers who I haven't had a step increase in 16 years. I've been on step 13 for 16 years. So the only increase that I get are the COLAs that you offer me. So, and again, then if half of the staff isn't even there, right? We're at that higher end that you folks pointed out earlier when we presented our financial counter. So it doesn't make sense. And I know that several meetings ago, I implored you to please separate the step increases from the COLA or from the raise that you're offering. And you still don't seem to be able to do it. It's pretty disappointing. And again, it's very deceiving.
So, no, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that we came in tonight with two possible compensation packages. And they represent a considerable movement on our behalf from where we started. And it's our expectation that we will continue to negotiate as we go on.
Of course.
The counter proposal that we got from the GTA on compensation made an insignificant change. I wouldn't, maybe that's not the right word, but it was not substantial. So like I say, our proposal increased our offer by almost 50%. And we're here to negotiate, and we're trying to do that, and we hope to move forward. And, you know, I think we just ought to set some dates.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, we do recognize that it is movement, you know, and when we will have a counter for you, hopefully with some reciprocal movement that we also think will fairly compensate members and have a chance of being ratified next time. But I do think now would be a good time to discuss some dates.
Yeah, no, I also just wanted to say one other thing, because you had said something earlier about nobody being on the bottom step. And there's currently 19 people on our bottom step. So, you know, we're gonna always be hiring new teachers. So as somebody who's new to this process, I continue to be really surprised that the GTA isn't advocating more for teachers to start at a higher salary. And so I would really like to understand better why that's not a priority for you.
So I can give a partial explanation. First, maybe we have an outdated scatter plot, but the scatter plot that was provided to us has nobody on the lower steps. So if that's changed since then, obviously we appreciate that information so we can have accurate assessments of cost and where things go going forward.
Anthony, I think you don't understand that we eliminated some steps in the last round of negotiations. So step 1 and 2 are no longer valid. They're not applicable.
Okay, I see them in the scale in the contract, so I'm new to the district, so again,
I think
just says that.
we requested that information last spring, if memory serves me. So that should be updated because it would reflect anything that we agreed upon before then.
We're keeping this scattergram.
And the point is well taken too, now that I see it in a different light. But that also, it still doesn't change. One, the lower part of your scale is already more competitive than the higher end. Your lower paid, your newer people, the earlier steps is much more competitive. So if we have to prioritize newer teachers or lower steps versus higher steps, our members, which make up 52%, are on the top step of their track of their column, doing something that's more leaning towards the majority of our members is what we're hearing, especially when the lower steps are already more competitive. And the way the CBA is written, the district already has the authority to hire people at whatever starting step they think people deserve. So you don't need an agreement or any concessions from us to just simply hire every new teacher on step 5 and step 6 or step 13. If the district believes that will, be more attractive to potential employees. So again, we do want the scale to reflect a higher starting step eventually, but in terms of our bargaining priorities, we're looking for, a fair COLA that can apply to every step first. And if the district wants to drop some steps, we're certainly amenable to that, but I don't see us giving a whole heck of a lot back just for that one thing. Again, it's always possible for you to hire at a higher step, but we can't get anybody above step 13 unless we add more money to the scale somehow.
And just really quickly, in the last CBA, we worked really hard to make those steps and tracks more competitive. So in the last CBA, Sam, we worked really hard to move the lower end of our teaching scale, the younger teachers and the lower tracks, we worked really hard to move them up. So in this CBA, it's the turn for the teachers at the higher end. So it's not that we're not advocating for them, but in the last round of negotiations, we advocated for the younger and the newer teachers, and now we're advocating for the more veteran teachers. So it kind of goes cyclically. And so you could probably look at the older notes that some of your other members on the team would have being new to the team. They could inform you of that information.
We did increase the maximums as well last time.
Well, we worked really hard for those lower steps and tracks as well.
Worked hard for the higher ones too.
And Naomi, about 21 years ago, when I started on board, they did the same thing. The newer teachers, which was myself, with just a bachelor's.
Teresa, we can't really hear you.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
That's clear.
Can you hear me now?
A little bit.
Turn your camera off, Teresa. See if that helps your Wi-Fi.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, about 21 years ago, I remember sitting in the Fuller auditorium, and I think I looked at Cheryl Olson when I heard a round of applause, and I said, "What just happened?" She goes, "You got about a $3,000 raise." They had advocated for the new teachers, and then 3 years later, we were advocating for those with a master's, and we were trying to promote those with to receive a master's and go for their master's plus 30 and on to their master's plus 60. So this is a cycle that I've seen since I've been a teacher in Gloucester, that we are trying to compensate and trying to balance every single contract with our salaries. Just to add to what Rachel said. Thank you.
And I think Matt's had his hand raised for a few minutes.
Yeah, just a quick clarifying point, Sam. So this is my 6th year in Gloucester Public Schools, 7th if you count the year I did student teaching in high school. And when I was hired, no one from the GTA talked to me before I was hired. So I assume most new teachers don't have that, oh, well, you can discuss, being hired at a different step. So to say that, well, why aren't we going out and arguing or telling these new hires to ask to start at a different step? It's impossible to do. Now, if they're coming from another district and they know that, then obviously they can say that. But we don't have the ability to do that. If I'm understanding your point correctly, if I'm not, then forgive me.
No, I guess my point is that it benefits the entire district to start teachers at a higher rate, right? Like, to me, it seems like, I come from a profession that starts really low. And if we're talking about cost of living, to me, it seems like the priority really should be increasing the rate of the starting teachers, the people who are making the least amount.
Got it.
And I would hope that the GTA would also advocate for that.
Yeah, and I guess just going back, I am gonna have to say, I don't know how many years I've been doing this, let's just say forever. We really have worked hard, like Rachel said, at making the newer, younger teachers very competitive. And I think you brought that to attention earlier in some other rounds at how high they really are. They're pretty competitive on the incoming. So we get your point, Samantha. We do need to bring in fresh new teachers at a competitive rate. And I think in past rounds, we've managed that. So we are moving to target another direction for this round for us older teachers.
Again, just to that very point, again, what we're saying is it's just not worth it for us to give up on some of our other demands for something the district can do on its own without agreement or any concession at all. If the district believes they should be paying first-year teachers more, then they can start them at a higher step. And there's no objection from the GTA about that. And that's something you can do tomorrow. You can, whatever people are on the docket to be interviewed, you can negotiate to bring them in on a higher step, and that's fine with us.
And then it would still need to be fit within a budget that then gets funded.
Yeah, understandable. But again, it's
all the pressure on the budget, comes from many directions.
right. But that's never going to go away. With every CBA, the district and the city have to budget for step increases and projected lane changes. And that should not have any impact on how it plans ahead for a reasonable cost of living adjustment at the same time. That has to be part of the budgeting cycle year after year. And that includes projecting out known increases to your salaries and to your benefits line items. And that's just, again, asking teachers to bear the entire community's budget woes is an undue burden, unfair burden to put upon them. While we have the competing interest of trying to attract and retain the best teachers that we can.
I also want to point out that hiring a teacher on a higher step is no different than dropping a step. So your proposal was to drop a step, yet you're claiming that there's budget problems and hiring a teacher on a higher step, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So you have the ability to do exactly what you're proposing without making a proposal, without negotiating.
Okay, may I speak? First of all, I'd just like to correct this concept that we can hire new teachers at any step we want. It's in the contract. We can hire teachers at an advanced step if they have experience, documented experience. And it's only up to 2 years that we can move them up. They can only qualify for 2 years. So I suggest you look at the contract before you keep making claims that we could just start teachers wherever we feel like it, because that's not true. But that being said, once again, I'd just like to say, I think we've made a substantially increase in our office this tonight, and I'd like to set some dates for a future meeting.
And did you discuss meeting in person?
We did. Our concern is we do still know that some people may not be comfortable or able to join us in person for the open bargaining sessions. So we are open to bargaining in person if we can continue to live stream so that people are able to watch from home if they cannot join us in person.
We can manage that.
Yep. Definitely, yeah. That would be the intention. It wouldn't be to end the live stream, it was that we'd be together working through things. And I think have a more of a personal conversation, personal, work together as opposed to.
Sure. Yeah, we're
And that would
open to
only
that.
be us in the room. Just like school committee meetings, it would only be us.
It'd be us in the
It
room.
would just be us in the room and everybody else would be live streaming.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, us meeting your team, our team, and then we live stream.
And
Yeah.
where are you gonna put us? Because you're running out of room there.
This is a very large library.
We have a
It's got a lot of
small
tables.
Yeah, there's plenty.
Take a look sometime. There's extra room
All right, dates?
here. Dates,
That'd be a good idea. Date.
So we came up with a set of dates to throw at you and hopefully they line up with the ones that you had. We have November 18, 23rd, 29th, or December 8th that work for us in the next couple of weeks.
Wait. Sorry, can you just repeat those?
Sure, yep. November 18, November 23, November 29, or December 8.
We have the 29th.
Yeah.
We can agree on the 29th, I believe. Yes,
Yeah, we have other negotiations on the 18th. We have other negotiations.
Yeah.
So we're negotiating with another bargaining unit on the 18th, so we can't do that.
what was it, the 23rd?
Yeah.
23rd or December 8th.
the 8th, we have a building and finance subcommittee meeting. Standing meeting on Wednesdays are always tough, because we have school committee meetings.
Sam can't do Tuesdays.
The 13th?
We have the 13th, yes. We have the 13th.
And the 6th.
Well,
December 13 or December 6.
we work a week apart.
Oh,
It's only a
No.
week between.
oh, okay, so right, it's only a week between the 29th. Sorry,
So the
Kathy, say it again?
13th, just be two weeks later.
December 13. Does that work for our team? I'm available.
Did you say the 6th
13th.
and 13th? December
That's
6th?
the 13th.
I can't do the 6th.
29th
I
and
can
the
do
13th.
No, November 29th, and then December 13th.
That's good for me.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, what time? 5 to 7, or what's the time?
Have again.
5 works, 7, 5, start at 5, 5 to 7.
So you'll meet with us at 5, you'll do your executive session prior.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you very much.
Attendees for the GTA, check your email so that you can join us for the debrief. And thanks so much for spending your evening with us.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you,
Good night.
everybody.
So do we want to go back into
Executive session.
executive session?
Yeah.
Executive session.
I'll make a motion, we go into executive session.
Second.
Sam?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Jonathan?
Yes.